Hi folks, welcome back to the second part on this Nikon Nikkor 24mm PC-E lens. Today what we're going to go over is PC, which is perspective control. When you're looking at something, you see things in 3 dimensions. When you photograph something, it takes that 3-dimensional object and it puts it on a 2-dimensional plane. Now I don't want to get too in depth with the physics and the mathematics. I'm going to try and use layman terms. So I'm going to try my best to describe what's going on in my own words. When we're looking at a building, we see that the building is very tall. Okay, let's use this chalkboard. Let's use this. Here's you, and there's you, and you're standing. Oh, that's politically correct or not, but okay, there's you right there. Okay. And you're looking at this building, and this is what you see. You see that building because in your mind, your mind is correcting the distortion. Okay, well, when you photograph that object and it goes onto your camera and you look at the picture frame, what you have is the building kind of looking like it's tilting forward, right? And that makes perfect sense. Now this is not defying the laws of physics. Actually, this is because of physics, because light travels in straight lines, because things are what they are. For example, the moon. You really don't think the moon is the size of your thumb, you know, but if you stretch out your arm and you put your thumb, you can cover, you know, depending on how big your thumb is, you can cover the moon. That doesn't mean that the moon is the size of your thumb. The closer it gets, the bigger it's going to be, correct? And that's the same thing here, because what is close to you is relatively that size. But as it goes further and further afield, as you tend to infinity, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. For example, railroad tracks. Railroad tracks have to be parallel, correct? But when you're looking down the railroad tracks further and further afield, they look like they're getting closer and closer and closer and closer to a point. Well, if that was the case, then the train would derail. But that's not the case. But that is what we see. And this is how our mind corrects everything. Okay? But that doesn't mean that's what you're going to see in your pictures. So this lens is a marvel. It's an incredible, especially the Nikon. This is not a cheap lens. This is the Nikon PC-E lens. It's an amazing lens because it bends light and it corrects the fringing. You don't know how difficult that is, because when you have one lens after the next lens, what's happening is that, have you ever seen a prism? Yes? And the prism splits up the light. Well, it splits up the light into in its spectrum. And then you need another lens or prism to correct that fringing. Okay? So imagine this lens is bending all this light and correcting it and not leaving any fringes. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, the technical, and plus this lens tilts as well. Now, tilting is a little bit different than shifting. And in my last video, I was talking about, you know, getting the words a little bit backwards, okay? Because shifting, I'm going to show you what shifting is. To make this building straight, to take this building and make it straight like that, to what you see, this is what you have to do. Let's go and take a look. That's because I like to do things, okay? Because it's so much easier. All right. Yeah. I hope you can see that. Can you see that? Right. On this side, that's the locking mechanism for the shifting. Right? You loosen this up. There it goes. It fell, right? And on this side, that's the shift control. Can you see that? Yeah? Now, I control it as high as I want or as low as I want. That's the center. You always hear it, right? And then you correct it. You can lock that up and then you tighten it, okay? Before you let go. And there it is. Now it's locked in its position. Okay? Yeah? See, it's locked in its position. Now, what I did was, you can also do things, you don't have to In my last video, can you see me? Can you bring over here? In my last video, I was doing things like outdoors, tall buildings, structures, the Abbey, okay? You can take a look at that. But that doesn't mean that this lens is only for the outdoors. This lens would be perfect for interior decorators, designers, architects inside buildings, okay? Correcting the distortion that you see. All right, so it's quite amazing. And what I did was I photographed my cabinet, but from floor level. Okay, so I was down on the floor with the camera and a tripod, and I had the camera, the lens, the lens parallel. Okay, parallel to the camera was parallel to the cabinet. Okay, but it was low down. And then I corrected it with shifting. And let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to show you a real close image of what this looks like. Okay. Wait, just a moment. Yeah. Whoop, it's too far. There you go. This is the before image. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Is it close enough? That's the before image. Now me, I'm underneath there. You can see my little flashlight poking out from underneath the, oh yes, I do use an SB800 speed light, because when you're photographing these things and you're in low light, a speed light corrects everything as well. So anyway, as you see, that's the before and that's the after. Now this is not a trick. This is not trick photography. I'm not doing something, oh well, you just stood up and took that picture, because I'm down there and you could see the little speed light sticking up from edge on the bottom. Okay, this is not done with, you know, some kind of other photographic software out there. This is real. That's genuine. I don't need to lie. I don't need to play tricks. I'm not working for the BBC or CNN. All right, I'm genuine. I'm the real deal. Okay, even Trump would like me. So anyway, that is what shifting is. Now you could do this, you can correct this, you can do the same what I've done to that, shifting it and correcting the distortion. You could do that with software that you have. But to me, using software is fake, okay? And I'm not into fake images. That is bending real light in real time, correcting it real. If there's anything I can't stand, is fake people, fake images, fake photography, fake news. I can't stand it. Because to me, the whole idea of really appreciating what we have in life is making it real. You know? Real marriage, real relationships, real friendship. I love real. Simple as. And I'm not changing myself. So, the other thing we're going to talk about, oh, here's another thing. You've got to remember that when you're finished, loosen this knob up and drop it back to the neutral. Drop it back to neutral and lock it. Okay, this is very important, because if you have your fingers underneath the grip and this lens drops, you trap your fingers. And if it's a D200 or a D300, you could end up dropping it and it hits something like, I don't know, something underneath the table, or I don't know. And then you can damage, cosmetic damage, okay? So, that's another thing. Always lock it back in its neutral position. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is tilting. Now, tilting is a little bit different, okay? And it's basically, I'm going to use this board right here. Can you see that white? Now, if you're photographing, let's say, I'm going to try and see if I can balance that little cap there. Now, when you're can you see that cap on there? When you're photographing that cap, and let's say I had another cap. Whoa, never mind. You got a cap in the middle, you got a cap over here, and you got a cap over here. All right? 3 caps. And you're photographing that cap. Everything in the back will be blurred. Everything in the front will be blurred. Okay? But if you use your tilt mechanism, you can correct that distortion and get the whole front edge sharpened, the focal plane, the edge sharpened using the tilt. Now, that's hard to explain, and the only way to really understand it is to see it, and I'm going to show you some images of that too. So if you're going to if you're going to eBay and you find my eBay site and you're taking a look at the pictures, you'll see what I'm talking about. I've lined up a few cameras on the edge of the table. I photographed it at an angle, but I was horizontal, on a horizontal plane. Everything was even, except for my camera was tilted on an angle, and I corrected that. Okay? I corrected the distortion. And that's a little bit more complicated to explain. But it's basically taking something that is circular, everything's blurred there, everything's blurred there. Yes? I don't know if you can see that. And it's kind of changing that circle into an elliptical. It's changing it so that now everything on the front, on the edge, is sharp, but everything on the back of that is blurred. So, very hard to explain that, and the only way you can really see it is to test it out. Okay? I'm going to show you what tilting is. Let me lower this a little bit. As you can see, the tilting is on the top. Whoop. That's the tilting. And on the bottom, you loosen it. Let me tilt that a little bit. Yeah? You loosen it from the bottom and you change it from the top. Can you see that moving from side to side? Let me bring it over here and show you what it looks like. Yeah? Again, I'll show you here. Side to side. So that if you are photographing something in the plane and you want to correct the distortion and you want the whole front edge sharpened, then you can use the tilt mechanism. Like I said, when you finish, put it back in its neutral position and lock it. Otherwise you could end up pinching something or damaging something. It's a quite complicated little lens, but if you're an art, you're a designer, you're a true artist, you're a true designer, you're a true photographer, you want the best, you want to correct these distortions because you want it to look like what you want. You know, and you don't want to do it fake, you want it to do it for real. That's the way to do it. Hands down. I'm going to leave it there. You know what time of year it is. Drive careful, be good to each other, be patient, be good to yourself.